Hello, my name is Andy, and I am the village idiot, and I'm armed with a car and a GoPro, and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to the city of Leeds, and to the last one in the southeast of the city. This one's built on top of a hill. There are plenty of steep inclines around here, and I should know because I've just walked around it, and I'm filming this intro at the very end of my walk. Welcome to Chipesch, better known these days as Kippax. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Kippax is a village and civil parish in the city of Leeds, situated to the east of the city near to Garforth and to Great Preston. It's located on top of a hill, the highest point being close to the church, one of the oldest parts of the village, the rest of the village growing in the surrounding valleys. The population of Kippax parish at the 2011 census was 9,785, which makes this the fifth most populous in all of Leeds. Trust me, there are some big ones still to come. It forms part of the Kippax and Methley ward of Leeds City Council, which was part of the former UK Parliament constituency of Elmet, before becoming Elmet and Rothwell in 2010. Kippax was part of the Tadcaster Rural District until 1939, at which time it was annexed to Garforth. It reacquired civil parish status and a parish council on the 1st of April 2004. Avid cricketers amongst you might know the name of this place, as there's a brand of cricket bat called the Kippax, and they've been around since 1976. Musician Robert Harvey of the band The Music, which I'm a huge fan of by the way, is from Kippax. So let's have a look around this place. We'll take the long road and walk it. So this first section of the walk is uphill. I knew Kippax was on a hill. I didn't realise it was this steep. Thankfully, when I get to the top, all I've got to do is walk back down it again. Easy a bit. The name Kippax is of Anglo-Saxon origin, recorded as Chipesch in the Domesday Book of 1086 and as Kippes in charters from the 1090s to the 1270s. It was also known as Kypask and Kypax from the 13th century onwards. The place name seems to be composed of an Anglo-Saxon personal name, Cippa. The Domesday Book suggests that the village was first established in a wooded area of ash trees. The pronunciation of the name seems to show some Scandinavian influence. Kippax developed as a surname thanks to the settlement. Johannes de Kypax, Johanna Keppas, and Johannes de Kippax, and they're not easy to say, were all recorded in the poll tax records of Yorkshire in 1379. Despite being an administrative centre for hundreds of years, the population remained small and it was mostly agricultural until the late 18th century. That's when coal mining began on a small scale in bell pits. The discovery of coal seams in neighbouring Allerton Bywater saw Kippax undergo a rapid expansion. It wasn't long before it was transformed into a typical northern mining community in the 19th century. Ever since, it's just kept growing, although it has more modern housing estates now too. So this here will give you an idea of how big Kippax is. My main walk is only focusing really on the centre of Kippax, around the shops and things like that. If you look here, outside Ash Tree Primary School, you'll see vast swathes of housing estate to the north. It goes for a long way. Exploitation of coal led to a railway being built between Garforth and Castleford in 1873. You already know what that line is these days from previous episodes. The line had two intermediate stations at Ledston and at Kippax. Remember though, the site of Kippax station is nowadays in Great and Little Preston's boundaries. It was closed to passengers in 1951. The decline in deep mining saw Allerton Bywater pit close in the 1990s, having been in decline since the 1970s. We've seen how that village coped with the change. Over the following decades, Kippax has adjusted to a new status as a commuter village. In some ways, it's ideally situated where it is. Its proximity to the A1, M1 and M62 means that many residents now commute to Leeds, Castleford, London, Wakefield or York, rather than working locally. Housing development between Kippax and its neighbours over the last 10 years has reduced the surrounding countryside somewhat, and some fear its village status will soon be questionable. Now this really is a hilly place. You go down one hill and all of a sudden you're faced with another one, like that one. Never far away from a hill in Kippax. Let's get some demographic information now for the current population. Kippax covers 6.8 square kilometres, and given its population, that's a really small area. The resultant population density is astronomical as a result. It comes in at 1,387 per square kilometre. Strangely though, walking around I never felt like I was in a crowded area. Its status as a commuter village is seen when we look at how the age groups break down. 58% of Kippax's residents are of working age, more or less the typical commuter village percentage. This is a place that, despite the growth and shift towards becoming more and more urbanised, remains predominantly white British. 98.1% of people identify as such. House prices in Kippax will depend greatly on where you live within its increasing sprawl, but on average, they're worth £202,000. Now, as a large village, you might expect it's going to have a lot of amenities. First of all, how do you get here? Well, you need a 163 or a 166 bus from Leeds. When you get here, you might want to know the local drinking establishments. Let's go through them next. First, we have the Commercial Hotel, which describes itself as a traditional town pub. Next, we've got the White Swan, more of a local pub and restaurant these days. It was built in 1915 and it stands on a roundabout at the end of the High Street. By far my favourite of the bunch was this one. The Old Tree Inn terms itself a great British pub. There's a fourth pub too called the Moorgate, and it's on Leeds Road. We have social clubs as well. Kippax Ex-Service Social is one of them. Kippax Working Men's Club is not far away either, and there's also Kippax Welfare. We'll get to that shortly. The village's historical roots are evidenced by its church, St Mary's. This was originally an Anglo-Saxon church which underwent significant modification in Norman times. Typical Saxon herringbone masonry can be seen in the church tower. In the 1870s, a Roman coffin was found here, possibly reused, beneath the nave of the church during its restoration by Gough. St Mary's Church is known to have belonged to the Cluniac Priory of St John at Pontefract as early as the year 1090. These days it forms part of a joint benefice with the churches in Swillington and Allerton Bywater. All three churches serve Great Preston and Little Preston as well. St Mary's is not the only place of worship here. Literally, as you exit the churchyard, you'll see a Methodist church. A playgroup is held here for children from birth to 5 years old. Now we're on Kippax Welfare Ground. Kippax Welfare Rugby League Club play here, and they're known as the Kippax Knights. There's a junior football club here as well. Here's a bit of interesting football history for you. The Kippax was the name of one of the stands at Manchester City's old Main Road Stadium. You'll find a playground at the sports ground as well, a decent sized one in fairness. On the other side of the village is Kippax Common, which has a skate park. Kippax Leisure Centre is on Station Road. It's open 7 days a week and it has a 25-metre pool and a forecourt sports hall for things like indoor football and badminton. Get this, all the allotment fans are in for the best treat they've ever had today. Kippax has not just one, but two allotment sites, one on Station Road and the other on Gibson Lane. My route didn't cover the whole village, so who knows, there might be more. Next, let's have a quick fire montage of Kippax's shops. You might have noticed from the montage, but virtually every shop here has got a Ukrainian flag outside it, and that's good to see. Education next, and Kippax has not one, not two, but 3 primary schools, 2 of which my walking route passed. Up first is Ash Tree School on Gibson Lane. Greenfield Primary School is off Ebor Mount, and there's a 3rd primary school, Kippax North, located on the B6137 Leeds Road. This is the closest thing Kippax has to a village hall. It's the Kippax Community Centre on Gibson Lane, offering a hub for events, activities and other functions for the local population. This should not be confused with the Kippax Community Hub. Primarily a library, lots of local clubs like the Readers Club and the Craft Club use it, and it's used for local MP surgeries. And this building is St Mary's Church Hall. It used to be St Mary's Sunday School, judging by the stone above one of the windows. It has capacity for 100 people. Healthcare in Kippax is really good. For starters, the village has a dentist. You don't see this in every episode, do you? Almost dead opposite the dentist is a health centre housing Gibson Lane practice, which has sites at Hazelwood Avenue in Garforth and at Main Street in Monkfryston. There's a second doctor's surgery as well on the High Street. This is Kippax Hall Surgery, situated behind the Co-op. And finishing this section off is Morley Nursing Home, registered to provide accommodation for up to 36 people who require nursing or personal care. Kicking off the notable landmarks section, we have the War Memorial. This has a total of 92 names on it, 61 from World War I, 30 from World War II, and there's 1 from the Korean War. Check out this coal truck. Kippax certainly hasn't lost its old identity yet as a mining community. Many of the village's older residents still remember what life was like here in those times. And as such, I'd love to know who painted this on the side of one of the buildings in the High Street. It shows a miner and his equipment in a mine shaft, an awesome piece of artwork. Approximately 5 metres to the south of St Mary's Church is the remains of a medieval cross shaft. This is Grade 2 listed. I love this. You don't need to be a genius to know what this building once was. Cleverly painted on the side, it's as if Ye Olde Fish Shop was still in business. A nice memorial. And while we're on the subject of buildings that have been repurposed, check out the Barclays Bank building, which has a map on the outside of it, showing us the entire village. Okay, so I found a map of Kippax and I've gone freehold for a second to show you my route. So I started down here at the leisure centre, right there, and I've walked up here onto Cromwell Rise, through the Kippax Meadows, up Apple Tree, if that was quite steep, and then along here to the Welfare Recreation Ground, and then I've just basically followed my nose up Pondfields Drive onto Ebor Mount and come back down Westfield Lane, and I'm now in the centre of the village, and I'm heading for this viewing area. Look above though. I wasn't kidding when I said this was a big place, was I? And here is the fabulous Kippax Viewpoint. From here you can see landmarks for miles around. Emily Moore Transmitter is one of the most recognisable. In the middle distance there's RSPB St Aidan's and Allerton Bywater, and a little closer is the site of the former Kippax Park Hall. See the picture bit for that. Natural landmarks are actually plentiful enough around here, despite the fact this is much more urban than usual. Here's Well Lane Community Garden at the end of the High Street. On Gibson Lane there's a small wildlife area which caught my attention. This is almost right next to the allotments. Kippax has quite a big nature reserve as well. And here it is. To the south of the village is Kippax Meadows. It's described by Yorkshire Wildlife Trust as a green oasis, being a mix of meadow, wildflower garden and scrub. I particularly like this part of it. This is a sensory garden that's split into 4 parts. One for smell, one for touch, one for taste and one for sound. It has a readily accessible small network of paths, some of which are suitable for pushchairs and wheelchairs. Benches are dotted around the site too. Alright, I'm pretty much all the way around Kippax. I'm on the junction of Station Road and Briggshaw Lane. If you go down Briggshaw Lane, that will take you to Allerton Bywater, and if you go down Station Road, that will take you to Great Preston. 2 episodes, of course, we've already done. time for a picture bit. Here it comes right now. Okay, I'm back at the car after having a 2-hour nearly walk around Kippax. I'm pretty sure that given a bit more time, I probably could have put a bit more into this one with my feet. But the rest of this video is going to be covered using the car. And the idea is basically just to show you some more of the housing, the residential areas up to the north, which I haven't covered on the walk around. And that's it. That's the parish of Kippax after that, and I'll be moving on to my next one here in Leeds, and it's going to be closer to Wetherby, the next one, just so you know. So yeah, that's the southeast of the city complete. I've been Andy, otherwise known as the Village Idiot, and this has been the parish of Kippax, and I'm out.